All right. I just got off the Wi-Fi, so hopefully this is better than it normally is. Is that better now for everybody?
See.
Yes.
Yes.
All right. All right. Perfect. So, starting over. So tonight is the third eye chakra, or Agnya, which is spelled Ajna, but it's pronounced Agnya, Agnya, and it means authority, command or command center, um, to perceive or beyond wisdom. And this is the third eye chakra. So the third eye chakra, or Agnya, is the center of perception, consciousness, and intuition. This chakra is responsible for the link between your mind and the outer world, embodying your ability to see both the inner and outer worlds. The third eye chakra symbolizes your connection to wisdom and insight, allowing you to access the inner guidance that comes from deep within your being. Yeah, I hate that this started over because I don't remember a lot of what I said already. But I was talking about how this particular chakra, it has two petals. So, the other chakras have, like Muladhara, for example, has four, um, or like the heart chakra has 12, throat chakra has 16 petals. This one has two. So before this one, we went in an increase in the number of petals on the lotuses, but now this particular one only has two petals, and it's for good reason. So it is at this point that the Ida, Pingala, and the Shushumna nadis merge, signifying an end to duality. So prior to the third eye, we had the intertwining or the interweaving of the Ida and the Pingala with the Shushumna going up the middle. Whereas now, when we get to the third eye chakra, they do a merger. So the Ida and the Pingala, they terminate at the nostrils, at one at each nostril. And then the Shushumna, obviously continues up. So that's our path, from the third eye into the crown chakra. So this is the last chakra that is located inside the being or the body. And this chakra is also different in that the first five are along the spinal column, and this one is outside of that. It's in the head. So that already tells you that it's different from the rest. And the question that I asked was, this chakra, it signifies the end of duality. So does anybody know what the word yoga means? A lot of us practice yoga and, do yoga poses. But
Does it
what
mean
does the word, say it again?
union?
Yup, yoga means union. So it's some type of, end of non-dual existence. And that's what this is all about, is the end of that duality and the beginning of a merger. So the solar and lunar, the masculine and the feminine energies become neutral at the third eye, bringing harmony, equilibrium, and a sense of oneness. So we know that the Ida is the feminine aspect and the Pingala is the masculine aspect, where we said that they merge at this particular chakra, which signifies the merger of the masculine and the feminine. So it's the end of that dual, existence. Uh, each petal contains a Sanskrit symbol. One is Ham, Ham. Does anybody remember what chakra that is associated with?
Isn't it the throat chakra?
Yep, the throat chakra. So
Mm-hmm.
we can remember the the element that's associated with the throat chakra was the ether, right? So one side of the lotus is associated with Ham, which is the seed mantra for the throat chakra. So you can associate that with cosmic consciousness, right? Because that's the ether. And then other one is Kasham, and that represents the life force or the mantra of the self or earth. So you can see how the throat chakra is a merger between the cosmic and the earth, or the outer and the inner. And it says it right in the, it's called a yantra, but the yantra is the actual pictorial symbol for each chakra.
Can you say
And
what the word is again for the second petal?
Kasham, K S Ksham. So Ham is on one side, Ham. Kasham is on the other side. So cosmic consciousness and earth, or vital life force energy. So the third eye is literally the union of the two. Here, the
Thank
two
you.
principles, yep, the two principles of wisdom must unite. Apara, which is the knowledge of the world, and para, which is apara without the A, is the knowledge of the spiritual. So, normally when we add A to something, it means not whatever the thing that we added the A to. So we have symmetric and asymmetric. So asymmetric just means not symmetric. So it's the same with this. So apara means the spiritual, or para means the knowledge of the spiritual, and then apara is not spiritual. So that's everything else, knowledge of the world. You got those two. So it's a union of the two. Any questions or comments so far? All right, no questions. So the petals of the lotus also correspond to the glands in which are associated with the third eye chakra. So we got two glands. So the first gland is the pineal gland, and the second one is the pituitary gland. So the pineal gland was considered the seat of the soul by Descartes. And Descartes was the philosopher who said, I think, therefore I am. And it's positioned between the two hemispheres of the brain. So again, you see this thread of union. So the pineal gland literally sits right in between the two hemispheres. So it's of both, but yet neither, because it's right in the middle. And it produces melatonin and its precursor, which is serotonin, and it regulates the body's circadian rhythm. The interior of the pineal gland actually has retinal tissue composed of rods and cones, which are photoreceptors. And inside its interior lining, just like the eye, and is even wired to the visual cortex of the brain. So it's literally a third eye. When people say third eye, like, it's not just, figurative, or just, a figure of speech. Like, it's literally, it literally has the same photoreceptors that we have in our regular two eyes. right? It's just instead of looking outside, you have those photoreceptors that are able to look inside as well. It's it's concentrated within, not without. The retina and the pineal gland are the organs primarily responsible for the body's recognition and processing of light. And I wrote a Bible verse that corresponds to this particular chakra. And it's Matthew 6 and verse 22. And the Bible verse says, "The light of the body is the eye. If therefore thine eye be single, thy whole body shall be full of light." So with that Bible verse, what else could Jesus or Yeshua be talking about other than the third eye? When else would thine eye be single when you got two eyes? So it was on to something. The element of the third eye chakra is light. In addition to literally seeing, this chakra draws us into the power of visualization and imagination. We literally connect to a higher frequency. Vishuddha, or the throat chakra, was the frequency of sound, and Ajna is the frequency of light. And the only thing that separates the two is the frequency. Sound travels at a faster speed, but it's still just vibration. I mean, sound travels at a slower speed, but it's just vibration. And light is the same. It's just vibrations, but at a higher frequency. Our sight is both external and internal. And the sixth chakra opens us up to the world of intuition, aka the sixth sense. So you kind of get that connection too, where the sixth chakra, sixth sense, both correspond with intuition. And it's where we assimilate information more rapidly than our conscious mind may process. So this is also tapping into both our conscious and our subconscious mind, because remember, this third eye chakra is located in the brain. It's not within the body anymore. So we have elevated above the body. We're in the mind. The subconscious mind can process 20 million bits of information per second, while the conscious mind can only process 40 to 50 bits of information per second. So the subconscious mind can process 500,000 times more information than the conscious mind. So I don't know about you, but I would much rather be using my subconscious versus my conscious if I had the choice, because it's so much more powerful. So the average person who has a smartphone or a cell phone, they only use 4% of its capabilities, right? And that's a smartphone. So just imagine how much of the brain and body's potential is not utilized. If we only use 4% of our phone, which is the machine that we created, just imagine the amount of our body and brain that we aren't using or don't have access to or don't even know exists. And, they say that, we have 12 strands of DNA, but 10 of it is junk DNA. But, what lies within that other 10 strands? Like, all the stuff that we've produced thus far in the world, monuments, pyramids, and, whatever else is only utilizing that two strands of DNA. So what happens when we start to unlock more strands and, we start accessing more of that subconscious mind? Like what will we be able to produce? And a big part of this third eye is imagination. So, if we can imagine it, then we can manifest it. Any questions or comments so far?
We know for sure the Most High didn't do nothing, no such thing as junk. That's just the Western world way of saying we don't know what to do with it or how to analyze it. And then
Exactly.
that immense capacity of the subconscious mind is why the powers that be play on the subconscious at every opportunity to program us into the stupor that we're coming out of. So that's just and as usual, instructor, you add to our utility, man. It just really elevated the intention that will be uh, brought to meditation, specifically around the third eye within myself. So thank you, brother, for doing what you do.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that, and that's definitely true. And that's why it's laughable when they say junk DNA. They tell us that the pineal gland is calcified and it doesn't have any use, other than being a photoreceptor. So it's like, like you said, it's just like the movie Glass, where they tell you these things so that you don't explore further. Like if they told you that, you have, like, for example, uh, they say that we use the full capacity of our brain, but in different activities. So before it was like we only use 10% of our brain. Then they came out and said that we do use our full brain, but it's like when we have such a powerful subconscious mind, like, just looking at our outer environment, there's no way that, we've tapped into the full capacity of our brain, our DNA, or anything else that we've been given. So to me, like basically what you just said, the media and the powers that be are like a governor on the car. So, you can only go so fast before that governor kicks in and it's like, all right, slow down. And that's how they play on your, like you said, they feed your subconscious mind with negativity, your conscious and subconscious mind for that matter, with negativity, and telling you that you do use your full brain and you got junk DNA and all of that. So it's like, if I got junk DNA and I'm using my full capacity, then what is the impetus for me to strive to do more and be more? Like, I'm already at my peak. And that's another thing too, is that uh, if you look, like probably in the past 200 to 300,000 years, our bodies haven't necessarily changed much. It's pretty much been the same. But the brain has more than doubled in size, but not as in like our heads are getting bigger, but how it expands is it increases in folds. So like the brain looks like like almost like a walnut with a lot of folds and all of that in it. That's how the brain expands while staying the same size. Is that it just keeps folding over on itself. So that tells you right there, like, our capacity is much more now than what it used to be, even though our bodies may be the same.
Could you, instructor, could you name the Bible verse you mentioned earlier along with the number of strands, please?
Yep. It was Matthew, verse or chapter 6, verse 22.
Okay.
And you said how many strands of DNA?
Yes, sir.
Yep. So we have 12 strands of DNA, but only two are activated, and they said the other 10 are junk DNA.
Okay. And you mentioned uh, also, and correct me if I'm wrong, that the subconscious and imagination is associated with the third eye.
Yes, yeah, definitely.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, just brain function and brain activity in general. So the conscious and subconscious are associated with the third eye, but the subconscious is 500,000 times more powerful than the conscious mind, based on the amount of information that it can take in and process at any one time. So the conscious mind can only take in and process 40 to 50 bits of information per second, while the subconscious can take in and process 20 million bits of information per second. So just even being able to tap into that a little bit is, going to increase our abilities and capacity exponentially.
Yes, sir. Now, two, another question. When you talked about the pineal gland and the visual receptors within the pineal gland, could you go back over that piece again, um, and how that correlates with the eye when you say that it's not figuratively speaking, it's uh, actual fact that the makeup of, if I'm not mistaken, the makeup of the pineal gland is directly reflective to the makeup of the eye. I just wanted to make sure I had that correct.
Yep. So if you dissect our regular two eyes, how we receive and process light is via photoreceptors. And those photoreceptors are made up of rods and cones. So I believe the rods are a lot more sensitive to light. So that's how we kind of process low light. And then the cones are a little bit less sensitive. So that's how we perceive, like, just regular daylight, or, when we have the lights on. And when you look into the pineal gland, it also has those same photoreceptors, those same rods and cones in the pineal gland that we have in our actual eye. So it's literally a third eye, not figuratively, and it's not a figure of speech. And also, too, those rods and cones of the pineal gland are directly wired to the visual cortex in the brain. So that's how you can see things in your mind's eye or your imagination, because that third eye is directly connected and correlated with the visual cortex of the brain. So, like, when you imagine something, you can actually see it in your mind's eye.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Anybody else have any other questions or comments?
I'm listening to like all of these like connection of the subconscious as well as like it being 20% or 20 mil, what is it, 20 million?
20
20 mil
million bits of information per second
bits of,
in the subconscious.
okay. And so, and tapping in, like this all sounds just goes all the way, goes full circle to meditation. As far as like the third eye and just the fact that we're able to tap into that much more through the pineal gland and through meditation. So, like, I was just thinking about how you said that you'd rather tap into that. And I was thinking how that's what, by doing that, that's what you've said before about like tapping into meditation. So it's just like, this sounds like full circle to our to meditation.
Yep. as we always say, all roads lead to meditation. So if you dig deep enough, it's all going to always take you right back to meditation. That's why it's so important that we do it. And it's like I always say, it's simultaneously the easiest yet hardest activity to do as a human being, because
Right.
like it's literally just breathing and being, but you have done so much more than that for so long that it now is a challenge to just sit, breathe, and be, or stand, or lie, breathe, and be, whatever posture you take. But yeah, it's like we say, all roads lead to that. So at some point, it's always going to end up right back to meditation.
Right. Right. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Anybody else, questions or comments?
I had a quick question. So we were talking about the petals, or you were talking about the petals, and you said it was connected to the pineal gland. And what was the other one?
The pituitary gland, that's where I was going next.
Oh, cool. Well, let me be quiet.
Oh, no worries. Yeah, no worries at all. And that's the thing too, like, and that's the importance of having a teacher. Hold on one second. On what? Ads, like on TV. Not really. You can. But what I forgot what I was saying. No, no worries. It'll come back to me.
You're
Oh,
saying the
Importance
yeah,
of
importance of
having a
having a
teacher.
teacher.
yeah. Sorry about that.
Yeah,
The
importance
importance
of
of
teaching.
having
Yeah,
a
for that.
teacher, because if you look up this information, like a lot of times they'll have the pituitary gland associated with the crown chakra and just the pineal gland associated with the third eye. But the pineal gland and the pituitary gland are associated with the third eye because the crown chakra is not located in the body. So how can the pituitary gland be associated with the crown chakra if the crown sits above on top of the head, is not located in the body? So just like, a point of clarification, if you go and look up certain stuff about chakras, all of it is not accurate. But yep. All right, so hold on one second.
Hey everybody. The other part I was thinking about, it kind of goes to what Instructor Cool was saying as far as how the powers that be do certain things with programming. So I got present to add, how the powers that be have all of this science, and they're very intentional about how they use the science in order to program us, in order to use certain symbols and sounds and colors and stuff like that in the ads. So in our house, we really don't watch a lot of TV. We're bigger on YouTube and stuff. However, even with YouTube, the ads on there have become ridiculous, long, very calculated. So this information is just very powerful, and it got me present to how other people are using this, and it's oftentimes not for our good. So we can take this information and tap into our conscious mind and subconscious to kind of filter through the things that they're using to target us. So I thank you for saying what you said, Instructor Aku, because I was like right on that same vein, thinking about how the government and media uses this science and the tools to program us, to influence us.
Thank you. Excellent. Right on point, as always. All right. So,
Thanks, sis.
they said thank you. Yeah, she said you will. All right. So, the next gland that's associated with the third chakra, or third eye chakra, is the pituitary gland. So the pituitary gland is also called the master gland. It regulates the body's entire glandular system by secreting hormones that affect growth, blood pressure, protein synthesis, and digestion. And I kind of
Oh, can
made
you
the
run it back one
connection.
more time, real quick? I'm
Yep.
sorry. Can you run it back one more
Hold on.
time?
Yep. So the pituitary gland, it regulates the entire glandular system by secreting hormones that affect growth, blood pressure, protein synthesis, digestion, and more. But that's like the main functions. And the connection that I made was that's why the Ajna chakra is called the authority or the command center, because it's associated with the pituitary gland that governs the entire glandular system. So it only makes sense that it would be the command center, because all the chakras are associated with the endocrine system. So the pituitary gland is the master gland, and it regulates the entire glandular system. Hence, Agnya means command center or the authority. Anybody got any questions or comments so far? Right now. All right. So go ahead. Somebody has something?
One more time. You said it regulates the entire glandular system, and then you said that it regulates growth, blood pressure, and you named a couple more.
Secreting hormones, protein synthesis, and digestion.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah, I got some. It just speaks to the power of perception and the mind, because if the pituitary gland is in charge of so much, and that's connected to your pineal gland, which is how you perceive things and perceive waves. Literally, your perception controls like your entire physical existence, your growth, how tall you are, how your body works, digestion. That's crazy.
Yeah, exactly. So you see, that's why it's called the command center, as it literally regulates all of those functions.
And that's the case. It makes me think about those people who are born into this world with deformities, or they can't process information as fast. Something is wrong. There's a glitch with the pituitary gland.
Mhm. Exactly. Anybody else questions or comments? All right. The third eye also makes it possible to tune into subtle energies that ordinary senses cannot perceive. This includes information extending beyond the dimensions of space and time, telepathy and psychic experiences, and also just a sense of deeper knowing, or what we call intuition. Agnya is also the witness center. Here one can observe all the mental activities without getting involved in it. And that reminds me of the two last two of the Eightfold Path, right? Concentration and right meditation that we talked about. So, being that witness, you are not your thoughts and feelings and emotions and all of that, but you can step back and take the observer, the observer position and see things for what they really are and not get caught up in it. And at this point, we can also purify the mind and overcome the mental defects of anger, lust, jealousy, pride, greed, and delusion. This witness state helps us to go beyond the ego and achieve samadhi. Does anybody know what samadhi means? It means bringing together. So you see that union, that unity, it all ties in.
Couldn't get to my mute fast enough. I wasn't gonna say it
You
that
knew
clean.
you knew
I,
that
I I knew what it meant inside. I didn't. I can't say I was gonna have the language that clean, but I did remember the cognitive, the takeaway. I felt it on the inside.
for sure. I think we talked about it in the Eightfold Path too, but I don't remember. But yeah, it just means bringing together. So same as yoga, and there are different types of yoga, different yoga paths. So we got karma yoga and bhakti yoga and jnana yoga and all of these yogas. But at the same time, they all are yoga, which is a path to unity or union. So it's just different roads again that all lead to the same destination. So the color of the third eye is indigo. So indigo is basically a mix between blue and violet. And that color symbolizes deep inner knowing and wisdom. And the food associated with the third eye chakra, there is no food associated with it, but you can go through two paths to tap into this third eye chakra. So one is psychedelics, and the other is fasting. And it's fasting because if you consume food, any kind of food or water for that matter, it grounds you to this reality. So, we kind of chopped up all of foods and water into the other chakras. So like water is sacral chakra, for example, or, like green foods are heart chakra. So any foods ground you to this reality, and the chakras that are in the lower realms and not in this realm. So this one we want to be clean and clear. We want that channel to be clear so the energy can flow through. The frequency is 852 hertz, and I'm sure you guys can guess, but what is the seed mantra or the bija mantra for this particular chakra?
Is
Yeah, good job. It's OM. We ended on that last week, which is the sacred sound that pervades the entire universe in which all creation came from. The signs of an underactive third eye are lack of concentration, being fearful of the unknown, lack of intuition, unable to self-reflect, and being disconnected from the universe. Signs of an overactive third eye are overly analytical. You have a lot of anxiety, mental fog, mentally overwhelmed, or excessive daydreaming. So you see a lot of this stuff deals with the mind and thoughts and, thinking and overthinking, all of that. So as you work to balance the Ajna chakra, you begin to see things as they actually are without the projection or the color of ego. The biggest hindrance that keeps this chakra blocked and inaccessible is illusion, or what we call Maya. And Maya is the powerful force that creates the cosmic illusion that the phenomenal world is real. So we often talk about enlightenment is just the ability to see. So the blockage of this chakra is falling into the trap of Maya or illusion, thinking that this world is the real thing, that this is it, that, everything is really what it is, when it's really not that. It's really just a bunch of subatomic particles interacting. But we think it's really a TV and it's really a table, but it's not. So accessing that third eye allows you to see through the illusion and get clarity. Anybody have any questions or comments?
Can you list the underactive and overactive again?
I was about to ask the same question, man.
I got y'all. So underactive is lack of concentration, fearful of the unknown, lack of intuition, the inability to self-reflect, right? Because the vision is blocked, so I can't see. And being disconnected from the universe. So you're literally like in your own bubble. And the signs of an overactive third eye are overly analytical, using the mind too much, creating, connections where there aren't any connections. Anxiety, mental fog, mentally overwhelmed, and excessive daydreaming.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Somebody else, questions, comments?
Peace, instructor.
Peace.
I wanted to share an interesting correspondence I found when you were speaking about Maya and being
Mhm.
illusion.
Mhm.
And in the Kemetic Egyptian tradition, Ma'at is truth and harmony. And so, in the spirit of sharing both sides of, one the illusion and one is the truth or the reality, the relationship that I wanted to point out was Maya and versus Mayat. Maya being illusion, Mayat being the truth.
Excellent. Yeah, that's a great bit of knowledge. And to further add to that, a lot of these words have the same root. So Maya, Mayat, mother, matter, they all are birthed out of the womb of creation and the creator. So just like truth is Mayat and illusion is Maya, it all comes from the creator. Because the creator created all, created good, created evil, created everything. So all of that is birthed out of that same womb of the mother of the universe. It all started from that infinite triple black darkness, and out of it came all. So, but yeah, thank you. Appreciate that. Anybody else? Questions, comments? All right. Well, the animal is the black antelope, and that represents the ability to explore the inner realms, trust, vision, truth, and the journey. So the black antelope is the animal that corresponds with the third eye. And with that, that was all I had on this particular topic. So we could just go through with questions and comments. We could start with Kim.
Okay, great class per usual. I got a lot of information, and a lot actually came together for me as far as like meditation and how they're all interconnected, especially like with the third eye. And something that I thought about to veggie back on Aku and Amina, instructor Aku and Amina's point about the media and how they use ads and stuff to block our minds almost. I remember a conversation that you and I had maybe like 5 years ago or something, and it was like an ad for Burger King, and the lettuce had money in it, and like the average eye you wouldn't see, but the subconscious mind actually is able to view and process that. Like, it may not show up as a regular dollar bill or a regular money, but it goes into our subconscious mind and is processing in our mind like, hey, go and buy this, like this is why the money is there. So it's telling us and putting it in our minds what we need to do, which is crazy because it's literally programming us, and a lot of us don't know because our regular conscious mind does not process it normally, but our subconscious mind does, but it does it so fast that our conscious can't keep up. So we make poor choices or certain things that we live our life based on, or however, is because the things that we literally put into our minds, we feed our minds with the junk. And so that's probably why they consider a part of our DNA junk, because that's what they feed us. They feed us junk, and our subconscious feeds off of that if that's all that we give it. But if we feed it knowledge and we feed what we need to, like you said, fasting, that also made me think of Ramadan. Like, they fast in Ramadan once a year, and I used to participate for like a few years, and I want to start back because it is enlightening. Like, because like you said, we become dependent on the earth, and so we think like, oh, I can't go a few hours without eating or drinking water, and really that's just the mind, and that's us telling each other, like that's us telling ourselves like we can't do this when we can survive. Like you said, the Buddha, he survived off of 1 grain of rice, and if he can do that, then we can survive a couple hours without eating or drinking water, and then that opens our mind to the unknown. Like, without psychedelics and things, we're able to achieve that enlightenment just on our own without the psychedelics or other things to get us there. And I appreciate that, and I appreciate you opening it up for me, because that brought that back for me. Like, every time I see a commercial about fast food, I automatically think of that conversation that we had, and it's like, this is what they're feeding us, and they're literally processing and programming our minds. And I always think about that when the generation of kids now, all they do is watch tablets or computers or phones. Like, that's all they watch. And it's like, our generation wasn't like that. We had to go outside, we had to read books. And so I wonder like how much they're programming our kids. Like, I've seen a lot of parents talk about how, oh yeah, this cartoon got some gay stuff in there, or the average kid wouldn't see, but you never know what they're processing because their subconscious is working faster than their conscious. So they may think that the kid is not understanding or don't know what they're watching, but in reality, they probably do. And so, you never know what they're teaching our kids, which is also a problem. So I got a lot out of this call today. It was very enlightening, and I appreciate this very, very much. So thank you, instructor.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And several points. So, don't just take our word for it. You can go right on YouTube. It's actually like commercials that was created back in the 70s, and they had I want to say it was like the Star Spangled Banner, or whatever those patriotic songs are, but they had that playing, and then like they had basically closed captioning. So, the words come across the screen, and then when the next verse comes up, in between the one verse and the next verse, they have messages about obeying the government and, all it is, like pay your taxes and, whatever else. If anybody wants, I can share that video so you can see that they've been doing this at least since the 70s. So, who knows how sophisticated they are with it now, 50 years later. And another thing, that you spoke about was the children. And children, we talked about the brain waves already. So we said that the average person is in beta. Like that's how, we normally function. But children from age 0 to age 7 are perpetually in alpha. They're not in beta. So, they are super, super receptive to, messages and everything that they get from their surroundings and their environment. So, instructor Aku, you said it, but, even teaching our children's class, like, you only have a small window of time before the children are tainted. So it's like, we have to be on purpose about that raising of the children and keeping them away from a lot of this, conscious and subconscious programming, because that now shapes their reality for the rest of their life. So thank you. I appreciate that. Amina. All right. She said, thank y'all. She appreciate everybody. CJ.
Dr. Thurston, please. Thank you. Great lesson tonight. I definitely appreciate it as always. I know one of the things that stuck for me was the fact that the brain is growing and the amount of folds that it has and the capacity it has and how much free thinking is suppressed. And so with them having this knowledge that they have about how the brain operates, about how to get to people, about what triggers people and things of this nature, it's like the dumbing down is so evident. And one, is amazing to me that the human capacity is still to grow and evolve anyway, outside of regards to that. But when I think about stuff like the new social media that's coming out and how quick everything is now, like I have so many clients and so many teenagers who I talk to, and there's so many kids that you see that's just like, oh, I can't go to sleep. And it's like, well, what are you doing at night? Well, I'm on TikTok. It's like this. And then they're putting reels in this and reels in that, because when you think about the fact that, how you said, the subconscious is able to take in so much, it just takes in so much that we only hone in on what's important, but we see so much around us, stuff that we learn, in Kenpo when we're working on awareness and things like that, but we already see so much and take in so much. So it's almost like, because the brain is growing and they know the brain capacity is growing, it's like, all right, well, we have to make sure that we throw enough junk at them to still try to fill up this capacity. Hence like, even songs are shorter. Like back in the day, the old school records used to be real long. Like everything is like real short. Now it's like wham bam, thank you ma'am. Like, let's cram as much content in as amount of time. And with them being the ones that's doing the programming and our brains being able to pick up on so much, it's just seeing that link, it's just like, wow. But yeah, I definitely appreciate today's lesson. At, like you said, all roads lead to meditation. So really honed in on the importance of that. So that, and then the goal is just to be and walk in meditation, and this kind of illuminates why that's necessary.
Yeah, excellent. Yeah, that's great. It was one thing that you made me think about. So one of the first people who came from the East and came to the West teaching yoga was a teacher named Swami Vivekananda. And, you know, obviously he had his third eye open. And what he used to do was he used to go to the library and rent a book. I mean, you know, like check out a book every day. And then he'll take it back the next day and then check out another book. And like, you know, these big books. It's not like you know, little manuals or something, but big books. And one day the librarian is like, you know, why are you bringing these books back so fast? Like, I know you aren't reading these books all in, you know, one day. And he said, you know, I am reading these books. He said, ask me any question off of any page in any of these books that I brought you back. And he was able to answer all of the questions and tell you exactly what was on each page of the book. And that lets you know, like, how connected and in tune he was with this third chakra and with his subconscious mind, because he was able to recall all the books that he read. So if anybody wants to look him up, it's Swami Vivekananda. Just type it in as best you can, and then Google will give you the correction. Emerson.
Peace, yeah. It just speaks to how our attention is our greatest asset. And I was kind of riding with my brother the other day through the city, and when you completely mindful to what you're looking at, it's like you driving through like 50 advertisements. There's so much coming at you through billboards, signs, traffic signals, street signs. There's so much, let alone what you listening to in the car too. You got, you know, the GPS, the aux, you know, it's just so much that you consciously processing. So, you know, it's a lot that you also probably like 20 times as more that you subconsciously processing too. And I also made me think about like layers of music and mumble rap. Like it's kind of crazy, but in music, obviously everybody know that there's layers and everything, and our conscious minds can't really pick through each layers to where we know like, oh, this is either harming me or hurting or helping me. But also in mumble rap, like who knows like how masterful it can get behind, you know, government control. Like, man, they really could be just we think they mumbling, they could be putting us under a whole spell, you know, they really warlocks, but it's crazy. And it also made me think about children TV shows, how, you know, they say these magical words in TV shows. Like for instance, in Mickey Mouse, he'll come out and he'll always say Miska, Musa, like, or they'll say hot dog, hot diggity dog. Just these words that don't make no sense to us, but like who knows what it could be telling our subconscious, man. It's wild. And let me see what else I got in my notes. Yeah, and vibrations on our phones. So like, you know how the phone vibrates differently depending on which notification comes through, and everything is a vibration. So what, you know, what are these vibrations really telling us? You know, we're waking up, our alarms, we wake up to vibrations through our phone, and they're a very specific type of vibration for each notification you have. So yeah, man, it just puts a lot into perspective. And also money too. Everything on the dollar bill is just very symbolic. Things that our mind picks up on, our subconscious mind picks up on, but our consciousness. But yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot to process. So I'm glad we in this path so we can open up that third eye and just be aware of everything for sure.
Yeah, that dollar bill is a class of its own. Like, that's a whole class on just the symbology on the dollar bill. But yeah, you had several mic drops in there that's like, you know, it just really calls forth the importance of mindfulness, like being mindful of everything that we do, you know, like not letting anything just be haphazard, just, you know, let whatever play on the radio, just let the TV play, you know, like all of that stuff, because like you said, it is called television programming for a reason, because they programming you. But the thing is that what are they programming you to do, or what, you know, what the program is. And once you open this third eye, you know, you get to see through the illusion, which is them too. You know, they not real either, and they know that. So they want to get you tied into the illusion as deep as they can, so that way they can control you. But once you get awakened, I know you've all seen yogis who sit in meditation and they set themselves on fire, and that goes to show, several lessons, but it shows that they cannot be controlled because they don't fear death. Like if I'm gonna sit there, set myself on fire while I'm in meditation, not scream, not anything, not, wince, not show an ounce of pain, whatsoever. It's like, what can you threaten me with? So it's like, of course they don't want you to get these types of practices because that is their biggest source of control, is the fear of death. So it's like, that's why they come, like Instructor Aku always say, marching in the lines with the shields and the guns drawn and all of that. They show you people getting killed on TV because they want to instill the fear of death. So it's like, now whenever you see the police, it's like, man, I might die today. So it puts you in that perpetual state of fear. But once you get awakened, it's like, you can't do nothing to me. You can't hurt me. You might be able to take this physical body, but that's it. Like, I'm much more than that. So, who cares? Do what you got to do. Aaron.
Peace. Thank you, instructor, for the information. This takes me back all the way from to childhood, when my mother and grandmother planted superstition in all of us, and told us all the stories of the things that happened back in the day, and just the vibration of how it was told made me fearful of what they were saying. Even though these things didn't make sense and I never saw them, just the vibration of it all put a fear in me. And then, to take that on for years and years, and shucks, I'm almost 50 and I'm just deprogramming myself from all these things back in the day that was, put into me. So it's just something, learning about it. And then it brings me to my mom. She looks at the news day in and day out. Fear just thrives in her. And, her not even knowing that it's a purpose in it all. And so she's fearful about everything. And it's like, get out of the news, get out of the news. So I don't even watch the news anymore because it's just bad news. And then the underactive and overactive third eye, I think I have both of them because my intuition goes like mad crazy. I can write a movie in my head, but I have such a strong vibration just being next to somebody. I don't even have to be next to somebody. I can just feel somebody even when they're away from me and be like, hey, what's going on? I'm feeling something from you. And, I can know what it is. It's almost like I know exactly what's going on and I just need you to confirm it for me. And shucks, 8 times out of 10, I'm always right. So sometimes it's a good thing and a bad thing because it's like the unknown, and it's just like a pressure like on me. And so, yeah, that unknown. So, yeah, I love it because I asked for my third eye to be open, but it's really, really intense.
Yeah,
So
I get
thank
it.
you.
Yeah, no problem. And just remember that, it's about harmony. So it's like, you don't want it to be overactive or underactive. You want it to be in harmony or, loosely stated in balance, which is, what we all strive to be. So I get it. Trust me. So that's why it's important, to know it so you know what to do to fix it. Or otherwise you would just be sitting at home watching the news and, don't even
Right.
know what's going on. So yeah, I
And I was
appreciate
looking at something that said, praise yourself every time your intuition gives you something. and guessed it right.
Mm. Exactly. Thank you. I appreciate
Thank you.
you. Yeah. Minister Freedom.
Man, peace and structure. Today's
Peace.
class was really, and I'm over here dealing with my sons. They not trying to go to bed, so I'm over here dealing with these guys and staying in tune. But I really got a lot of jewels out of this, out of your breakdown. You know, I was familiar with the third eye, different sciences on it, but really the correlation into the eye and the physical eye and the mental eye. I never heard nobody break it down in a physical aspect, in the physical attributes of the physical pineal gland. So I thought that was really dope, and I got a lot out of that. I'll make sure I got some notes. But I think that was a really big piece. Especially in terms of just being able, even where I liked it. That's why I was at. I would like that sister asked you to go over that again, just in terms of what block it, what open it, and working to make sure that we able to experience those rights and those things that open it. Make sure that we stand in tune so that those pathways stay open for us and not getting so much into the blockage of it. All I thought of, even when you was talking about just the illusion, I had my spurts where I get caught even recently. Ever since when I lost my son, I had kind of been getting into video games, but I had needed something to kind of just allow me to just kind of get away for a little bit, But I found myself just I don't want to say overindulging, but just kind of getting into it. But in getting into them, you lose track of time. You lose sight of what needs to be focused on in the right now. Meaning you stand up later than you should be standing up, mess around with stuff, losing track of that. So I just was thinking that just in foresight, and it brought in perspective the way that I always looked at the third eye, which was the vehicle that brought together the eyesight, meaning what we physically see, the hindsight, meaning the knowledge of the history, the knowledge of our past, and the foresight, meaning what we plan, what we think, what we envision, what we're gonna see forward. So it was nice to help get another way of physically bringing all that into perspective, especially with the connection to the physical eye. So that was something real dope. Was real dope. I appreciate it too, instructor. Thank you, man.
Oh yeah, appreciate you. Thank you for that. Hero.
Peace. I just
Peace.
wanted to share, a similar sentiment. I'm so grateful for the class. Thank you very much. What you're presenting is so valuable, and you're presenting it in such a clear and concise manner. Um, it's like I can't even believe I get a chance to sit in on these classes. So I'm just very appreciative of what you're sharing and how it's able to help us to reach new levels within ourselves.
And thank you for being here. I definitely appreciate that. And a big piece of this is as they say, if it's something that you want but you can't find it, then you have to be the one that produces it. And so, like, for example, with all of this information, chakras, the eightfold paths, brain waves, like, is a very difficult challenge to find somebody who teaches this in a clear and concise manner. So it's like, for me, like, if I go and search Ajna Chakra on YouTube, I might have to go through 100 videos to find one that's like, all right, this one is okay. So it's like, why not just produce it myself? And so, yeah, I appreciate that. Thank
You're welcome. Thank you.
you. Jalen?
Peace. Thank you, instructor, for the classes. This class in particular has like really opened my mind. Just because we're talking about the third eye, but it made me really think about the things that like inspire me, and I kind of like broke down the word like inspire, and it's like internal spiral, and how you were talking about how these chakra points, the energy flows like in the serpent energy until we get to the mind chakra. And it kind of made me think about like the things that inspire me, the people that inspire me, and even now talking about like, the things that inspire me, I can feel the energy, and it's like really powerful. And it made me like think, it just made me appreciate like my mind more, and the people like you guys that keep us spiraling up and ascending. So thank you, uh, and thank you everybody.
Yeah, thank you. We appreciate that. So you just coined a new phrase, inspiration, internal spiral or inner spiral. So yeah, that's great, and that's a great way to think about that.
I love you, nephew. That was awesome, man.
Yeah, he taught me something.
Hey, man, just looking at you, man. You've been this inner spiraling me since I saw you this weekend, man.
Definitely.
Thank you. Who we got? Kenyatta.
Peace.
Peace, peace.
Great, great class. It's interesting. I was getting ready to go on my nightly run, and so it took me a second to be able to press the pause, the unmute button. But anyway, just real quick. Thank you, instructor. This was a blast. This class was awesome. For me, and in terms of where I'm at in my life, and in terms of applying these lessons. Um, I'm always thinking about, how can we take some of this super knowledge, this super information, and make it practical in a way that will raise the community and ultimately raise us as a people. At it doesn't matter. We're talking, our local, state, national, or international community, and so thinking about this information, the reason it sits in me or resonates with me is just because of having a cultural identity. And I just remember hearing Brother Jalen and Minister Freedom and some of the younger folks in our clan, uh, just hearing them vibe to the information and hearing how they deal with it. I mean, they're so intelligent. I mean, I'm listening to Sister Chanel, and I'm just like, wow, just amazed. But just sort of putting that all into where it is I'm at. I think the reason that we can vibrate to this kind of information is because we have at least a degree of a cultural identity, and that is so important so that we can be open to some of the tools that can free us from the media traps and every educational traps and every other trap that tell us that we can't, when it's not only within our DNA, but it's within our legacy, it's within our history, it's within us. And so I just it just had me thinking on a whole lot of things. It had me thinking about Anthony Broader, thinking about Yosef Ben Yakin, And I just remember him dealing with the third eye in a different way. I remember him talking about just the power of the womb, like the black woman's womb, and how just he was just giving us a different perspective in terms of like not only appreciating the information and the knowledge of the third eye, but really looking at in terms of how we deal with our women. Like you need to look at that woman as truly a portal of the universe. Like look at that black woman like she is the opener of the universe. And you should bow down and respect her because she is the one to breathe humanity into existence. And so, so it's just amazing to just sort of get inspired, if you will, to sort of go back and deal with those lessons, because all of it has to deal with us raising individually, collectively, communitively, and globally, hopefully into this new era, this new people that we're in motion in terms of who we're becoming. So give thanks. Great class. Mm-hmm.
Thank you for being here, and always appreciate your insight. Thank you. Kimmy.
Mm-hmm.
Kimmy, you there?
Hear me?
Yep, there you go.
Give me one second. Okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Um, what's wrong? It'd be hard.
You're super low. I'm not sure if you're saying anything.
Okay. Can you hear me still?
Yep, there you go. That's perfect.
So class was wonderful. I have to say this might be one of my favorites. I just really appreciated plain and simple how you delivered today, Instructor Keith. Like it was, it just sunk deeper and sunk deeper. And I just pictured the brain and like the walnut and like how you were saying how, the information, like when your brain expands, it just condenses within it. So it's like everything was it was a joy. Like, and it was, it's been a joy even listening to just the comments. I feel like in the beginning, I had to choose if I was going to take notes or just really sit and listen to you, because I feel like if I'd be taking notes, I'd be pulled away from like just hearing what you had to say, because I was appreciating just that. I'm like, dang, like this, this is I was loving it. You just gave a lot of visual and imagery to just the next phase. I'm grateful of you even changing the link number, just this seemed like a nice start to the new year, this conversation, and I see how it can, steer us, into, man, deepening everything. I honestly would enjoy a part 2 to this exact same topic. I feel like we are already over. Let me not talk too much. I really appreciated the imagery of the story about the yogis who set themselves on fire. That really sat with me, because I would just be, I guess, more recently in my life visualizing maybe me being in a fire, and I guess when you think of you being inside of a fire that it's supposed to be bad, I'm burning, but in this perspective and moment, it's making me really appreciate just the diligence and the work to be in the balance, not be over, not be under, but just be, at ease, at peace, to be I guess emotionalist. That's the word that came to mind, like how you access deeper awareness or how you listen to that space, to that sources, how well you can sit in a fire and be comfortable. Like I want to be comfortable in just all the fire that I endure, that I ignite. It was really, really nice hearing Instructor Von's voice. Immediately, just his voice, and then the fact that he would always, be slowed down way of, okay, tell me this again, and tell me this again, and tell me this again. And I was noticing in his voice, a lot of his mannerisms and giving instruction. So I'm like, yeah. So sometimes I feel like, just when I'm listening to you, Instructor Keith, it's like I maybe you be going a little fast, and I be wanting to write it down and take the note, but really when I stop and appreciate just how you deliver the information, I mean, it just be so beautiful, and I be wanting to just make sure, especially because I know this is recorded, and I noticed like when I was catching up on recordings, it was easier to get into the vibe because I could play your voice back a million different times and get the right notes. So today kind of reminded me to maybe want to stay as present as I could be to receive it, and then be able to still comment and pay attention. But it's just a difference. Like it's just, man, it was just, I got too many words to say. I'm looking forward to replaying this one again, and I'm definitely looking forward to a part 2. Even if it's in class, I see this being able to challenge the meditation in the floor space, and even in my home space. Like it just opened all doors tonight. So I'm ever grateful. I'm ever grateful. I know I forgot to say stuff, but I'm just in there.
No, it's all good. Yeah, I definitely appreciate that. That's
Hold on, I can't hear.
huge.
I gotta put my headphones on.
Yep.
I got a situation over here.
No worries. You back on the headphone?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, I was saying I appreciate that, and definitely glad that you have those sentiments, and yeah, we could definitely do a part 2, part 3. Like that's the thing about teaching this particular topic and subject matter. Like even for example with the Eightfold Path, like the middle discourses of Buddha is 83,000 sutras in the middle discourses. So like it's a whole lot of stuff that you got to break down into something that's palatable and digestible for people who may not be as familiar with the information. So it's the same with these chakras. Like it's thousands of years worth of information that has to be broken down into a way that is easily digestible, applicable to daily life in 2021. So we could do a 10-part series on each chakra if we wanted to. So but yeah, I'm glad you are wanting to hear more, and several people have reached out as far as resources to go and read on and study on their own. So I just appreciate you all being receptive and open to learning about this stuff, because that's always a thing for me, is like, man, like, is it boring or is it going to be boring? So it's like, to hear you say that, I appreciate it. Lovely.
The beautiful leadership today. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Lovely.
Peace, family. So, you know how you say you're going to open your mouth up and you're going to talk, like I said last week we was talking about the throat chakra and not being shy. Then your collective, go ahead and start talking first, and they take all the stuff off your little notes. So you got to scribble them out, right? Start all over again. All right. Well, I got something for y'all. Talking about impressions on conscious and subconscious, and you're talking about television. So, I hate for the television to be on when I'm sleeping. I've always been like this. And, talking to people, having conversations, and they would be like, no television in a bit. What's wrong with you? Is something wrong? Why you gotta sleep in silence? Why not sleep in silence? Everything that's on the television is making an impression on you while you're sleeping. So this is like, even when I'm sleeping, I'm dreaming, I get like, I know it's not just me. We get light bulbs and pings, and intuition sets in when you're dreaming, right? That can be cut off and dimmed down when the television is on and they shooting at each other and everything, and now you tumbling down a hill getting shot at and everything that's going on in the television. So it's just those outside forces and readily identifying that you are being impressed upon when you are walking around or when you are laying down. And that is just what it is. Like people walking around in their telephones, so you look like a complete zombie. You are detached from everything that you genuinely need to be paying attention to. Then it made me think about when M was saying something about riding around the neighborhood. So they say you are a product of what you see and where you come from. So even in the hood, as they call it, you have beauty supply stores, liquor stores, you have weed spots, and they are, let's say within a block, you get a couple of each. That impression is put on our children and on some of the elders. You're a product of where you come from, but it doesn't have to be that way. And that's all I have. I'm done. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. That's a definitely great point. Thank you for being here too. Nishani.
Hey everyone. Yeah, today's class was definitely I didn't I had so many comments, but I didn't know how to express them in a way that even made sense in my mind. I felt like there were so many light bulbs that were just going on in my brain. Um, kind of like the light with the third eye. I'm very new to the third eye. I at least learning about it or processing the information and understanding what it means and what it does and the role that it plays. Growing up, I may have had a few instances where I was exposed to people who um, shared about my aura. And there was this one person that I remember, I was very small and I was with my mom, and he pulled me aside and wanted to talk to my mom. And it was a very deep conversation. And my mother is a very serious Roman Catholic. And she just she thought that he was being a weirdo, and she moved me aside. And now after this class, I'm trying to find a way to reconnect with him to tell him that what he was trying to tell me back then, I finally understand, and I'm finally on that path. Because I think he tried to point something out to me and my mom, from what he observed, probably. I don't know. I can't remember everything that he said. Um, I think about the TV stuff, and I think Instructor Keith, we were in a smaller group one time in a class, and we talked about the research, the turns that we took when we were growing up, because someone introduced me to these messages, these hidden agendas that are available, that are always in front of us, and it definitely took me on a very dark path. At least when I was in high school, I think. And every now and then I'll go back to that and I'll think about it, about how with the Illuminati, and it like all of my friends were trying to, well, two of my friends were trying to tell me about it. So I, YouTube, and one thing leads to another, and you have all this information, and it is very scary, and it definitely took a minute to understand. And the more I'm starting to see it, the more I'm hearing it from everybody here, and just noticing it, I really do want to be a witness and observe it instead of giving it so much power. Um, I talked about it in our small group again in class, where I don't think anybody created the phone or a computer or a telephone with the intention of causing harm. I think that was a beautiful creation of the mind, and how the ability of the mind to just be the human brain to be creative. And yes, psychology comes into play, because psychology comes in and turns everything around, and this information is being used to manipulate the mind. So yeah, it's sad that it exists. But I think that every single one of us in our journeys always get um, a message or like a little push in the right direction. What we do with it is entirely up to us. And yes, it took me many years to finally realize it and truly understand what the messages were. Just like there's bad messages out there, I think there were good ones. I just I wasn't really ready or in a place to see it or notice it. And now I feel like I am. And yes, I definitely want more of this conversation. I want to hear more of what you guys have learned. I feel like I'm behind in the process. There's so much in this that I feel like I need to rewatch it and definitely do more research. And I did reach out to Instructor Keith because there's so much out there. Like I could Google something and I could find so many millions of books. And there are people that I know who recommend books, but I'm like, I don't know, this doesn't seem right. So I'm like, let me just go back to source. I do trust the information that I get from Instructor Keith, Instructor Zarku, Ghost, Cedric. I definitely appreciate all the knowledge that I get. So I'm like, let me go back to source. This makes me feel complete here. So I don't want to get influenced by all the other things that are coming around. I am truly grateful for this. Thank you very much for the information that I shared always. And thank you everybody for sharing. Kenyatta, that was really funny how you expressed uh, the women and black women to respect them because it's funny in the history all of the Roman Catholics they turned everything around and they called it um, fertility, like women were just for fertility and there's no abortions and no this and no that, and there were so many different things that they changed and manipulated, and nobody was taught the original essence of what the goddesses and gods were there for. So there were so many different things that everybody was sharing. Sorry, I'm taking too long, but thank you again. Um, I definitely would really love more conversations about this in the future. Thank you.
For sure. Thank you for being here, and thank you for sharing that. Uh, in your specific culture, do they wear the bindu?
We do have Hindu, um, a big population of Hindu people, but no, I've not seen that very frequently. Very like Southern Indian population that migrated to Sri Lanka, they definitely have that,
Okay.
yes.
Oh yeah, that's uh, outward expression or representation of the third eye as well. All right. Paul.
Peace. How's everybody feeling?
Excellent. You kind of low.
Yeah, I don't know why I always had this problem. Probably might be my phone case. Is that better?
There you go. That's better. That's better. Yep.
Okay. Um, Beautiful class. I was just listening, taking it in. It did hit me, however, as I was listening, that I have spent, even reflecting back on the Eightfold Path discussions, and carried into these discussions on the chakras. I've carried too much focus on working to balance everything. You know what I mean? Like it's just it was just kind of like a eureka moment for me to like stop quote unquote trying. You know what I mean? Just as Master Jawad would tell us, breathe and be, or you say breathe and be. Um, and it was really, I think it was Sister Erin who spoke about the ebb and flow for her of her third eye chakra either being underactive or overactive. And I kind of think that's just kind of like how it is. You know what I mean? Like the more I wrestle and toil with trying so, and I'm purposely using the word trying to be like overly mindful of right speech and right this and you know what I mean. And although those are my ideals and my litmuses, it's the I'm looking for the right word. It is the empty ritual that it becomes, for me in the attempt to balance everything aligned. opposed to being present to when they are aligned and being present to when they aren't. Similarly to my quote unquote good days in the dojo, or supposed or assume quote unquote bad days in the dojo, is just the day there and I'm doing the work, and therefore I'm evolving, I believe. And I think the same thing holds true for, aligning my energy centers, or being, or staying on the eightfold path. That middle way is just kind of like just living, and being. I have my days where my shit is lined up and beaming. You know what I mean? And it's gonna be days when my shit out of focus and bending backwards. I mean, Sister Kim might check me today. I might be on point, and tomorrow I'll be off. You know what I mean? But as opposed to getting all worked up about it, just keep living. So it was just listening to, everybody's listening to you, obviously, instructor, but then everybody's comments just kind of brought it home, like Paul chill. You know what I mean? Just chill and just keep living, work toward it, but have a knowing and a faith that are becoming, and I'm gonna be what I'm gonna be. All said and done, just stop trying so hard. Stop trying altogether and just be all right with the days that my shit ain't aligned. All right with the days that they are. Be grateful for it all. It stands to teach me something. So that was really what stood out over everything. Okay. So, and I think I placed a lot of emphasis. The other thing that stood out was how much emphasis I always place on the pineal gland, not really the pituitary. So I need to look into herbs and foods that support pituitary healthy function, and realize how much it regulated. But thank you for doing the Doctor Strange, where you meditating and sleeping and reading books, astral projection, reading books and researching, but you come with it, as always. So thank you, instructor.
Thank you. Yeah, definitely appreciate that. Appreciate you being here. And just always that subtle trap of ego. Like ego is what, wants us to, or what causes us to say that's bad, that's good, or, uh, more so the judgment versus just the recognition. So, something is not right speech or right thought, okay, it's just a recognition that it's not that, and just get back on the path versus beating yourself up about it, because the judgment is now taking you down a path of more wrong thoughts. So yeah, don't worry about all that. Just do your best, and that's really what counts. Not the judgment about the action, but the action itself.
Understood. Thank you.
Thank you. No, Rada is on mute. So Ray.
Peace, everybody. I appreciate the class today, for sure. I had a lot, but I know it's late, so the I feel like this was very timely for me, to hear just the conversation. And what stood out to me earlier on the call was thinking about perception, and it made me wonder how the relationship that different people have with their third eye chakra, how that shows up and how we experience different things. Like today there was an experience and I felt like I was right in the middle of it, and to see how the other two parties, we all three of us had the same exact experience, but it was just so much, it's just so different in how we all talk about it and how we all experienced it, and the feelings that we all have, and what kind of guided our actions and conversations around it. I really was thinking about that a lot today on the call. But something else that stood out to me was, I think when Emerson was saying about like the songs, the movies, and like talking about Mickey Mouse, I was thinking about that yesterday. I was watching Game of Thrones and they speak Dothraki or whatever, and I was like, this is really a scripted, like it's not a real language, but it's scripted. And it made me wonder how TV writers pick, like, how do you write a language and how are they so intentional with it? Like, if it means nothing, then like, how is it even a fake language? And it means something because it's a sound and it's something that people are actually saying. So it doesn't mean nothing. We just don't know what it means. And it's always made me really uncomfortable when I watch shows and stuff and they get to doing spells or doing and saying certain things. I'm like, why do I feel this way listening to it? To where sometimes I'll even fast forward or skip it if I know that the scene has a lot of that in it. Cause I'm just like, I don't know. I can't say if it's good or bad, but I just don't know. And I don't like that. So that's something that came up with that. And then lastly, I'll say like the intuition. You mentioned like it can kind of show up in, this deals with or relates to psychic abilities and just different types of intuition. And I realized that as a kid, like I've always had dreams of the future. Like before somebody died, I would have a dream about it, the same exact dream. I could know who died before somebody told me with absolutely no context. Like I haven't talked to this person in months and somebody be like, oh, I got some bad news for you. And I can tell them what they're about to tell me, even though there was no context given. Like I'm like, oh, is it such and such? And they're like, how you know? Somebody already told you. I'm like, no, I just know. And I've had that where like people died, like the day they died, I'm like, I need to call such and such. And then it's like, oh, the next day, oh, such and such died yesterday. And I never understood it, but I always had dreams of like things that happen, whether somebody's about to move or something catastrophic is going to happen, or I could be somewhere and just leave. And then the next day they're like, they shot up that party, they shot up whatever. And it was like right after I left. And I've always just, I stopped telling people about it because my grandmother's, like my grandmother, great aunts, and everybody used to like want to pray over me. I would tell them something about a dream, and then they would go get the holy oil and stuff, and I just didn't really. I was like, calm down. So they made me think it was a bad thing, and that it was something that I should like not talk about, not listen to, and like it was just a very negative reaction. So I kind of shut it down and wouldn't tell people and just would ignore when I had those feelings. And as a kid, like when I stopped doing that, I started getting really bad migraines. So I would have to go to the hospital. I would have to I was just really sick and get bad headaches. But that's a sign of an underactive third eye chakra. Is like that for me was very, I couldn't sleep. I would wake up at 3 a.m. for like 3 years straight at the same time. Like it was just a lot of stuff that happened that came back to memory that I kind of just repressed because of all of the negative reactions to it. So this call made me kind of think back to just all of those things and kind of made me want to pay more attention to the dreams and stuff that I have and that feeling.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. That's that's deep, and a lot of people, they can't handle third eye being open. It's a lot, and so to be able to see and recognize that, and now understand it such that you can cultivate it in a positive way is, to me, what's most important now. So, yeah, thank you for that. Appreciate it. Rafa.
I got nothing. I can't follow that. I won't even try. A lot of the points that I did, have, they were already spoken on. Lovely said it beautifully well. Just speaking about the construction of our community and how that is also working to program us or suppress that third eye. So she said it beautifully well. That was my point. Thank you for the class tonight. All of this stuff is really starting to connect now. Tonight, I thought the throat chakra was the one, but once again, Professor X, Star Professor X, and so
we are. I don't know. I don't know what to think. I don't know what to look for in this next class. I mean, I'm just expecting to be wild again. But thank you again for y'all some badass instructors. I just don't. I mean, it ain't really much more. Ain't much more to say. I don't know. I'm speechless. I'm being honest. I'm speechless.
Yeah, thank you for that. The after after the solar plexus is like is what I like, So it's like I can more so speak freely, and I know more about the upper chakra, so it's easier for me to talk about than the lower three. So I'm glad that my zeal for this subject matter comes through in the class. So glad you got a lot out of it, and definitely glad you are here. Always appreciate you. Salama.
Peace, peace and love, family. Um, Thank you so much, instructor. Wow. I mean, it's like everybody else said, it really, um, it hits home. And, I think Raynell said that all these lights start going off, or it might have been Nashani. But one of the things that I really take from this is that, I mean, one thing in particular is that, television was made to access and control us through our third eye. Like when you went to speak about how it's connected directly to how we see in our vision. So it's like television, the word itself means at a distance, vision at a distance. So I feel like they created this thing, to entertain us. And entertain, the word itself is like the word, you break it down and it's enter, which means to gain access. And then tain is like obtain. So it's like to gain access. So it's like they wanted to, like they made the television, literally they created this machine to gain access to that third eye. Like they went into their labs thinking, how can we gain access to that third eye? And television was born. And just to to speak to what you said earlier about it being program, it's like it's a program. That's why the earlier, shows were called programs. They were called programs. They told us exactly what they were doing to us immediately when they gave us the television. So it's interesting. And then now, and they've given them so many different names. And series, it's obvious. Series can be a number of things. It can be, one thing consecutively after another. So it's programming consecutively after another. It's a series of programming, and then it comes to us through channels. So they're channeling this information to us. So, I mean, I can go on for days with this whole thing, but it's just really interesting. Let me see. And they didn't, like, our third eye, I believe, is they saw at one point that our third eye and our subconscious, that it was evolving in a way that we were able to gain access to information. And I feel like that's when the television came in to play, because we aren't, like, it's not that people's quote unquote third eyes aren't open. Every single person from this call, I feel like every person's third eye is open. They're gaining access to it. It's just that they're blocking that their view of their third eye, blocking the view of people's third eye with this nonsense, So with it, it's like a distraction. It's stopping us from evolving, stalling people, and Pardon me. It just exploded in my head. But oh, I wanted to. Somebody was saying about sleeping with the radio and the TV and things like that. It's such an odd thing. I never grew up that way, though. When I came back home to Detroit, every single person in my family that I've gone to their house and stayed over, or they've had to have something on, whether it was a television or it was something, a YouTube thing that they were listening to on their phone, or their radio with the news station. And it just blows my mind, because just like I believe somebody said, lovely, about how it enters your dream, and then you're like falling down the stairs and getting shot at, and you're like, you know, you thought you were in dreamland, but you're caught between this madness. But anyways, all of that, it lets you know that, like, this whole class just made me feel like, wow. So this, by knowing all this information, by having the information of the third eye chakra as well as other chakras, it just allows us the access to the awareness and our power beyond their intentional science project that they're working on us. So, like, having this information, like, I think a lot of people here have heard, if or not a lot, but some of us have heard of, the third eye, and heard of the different chakras. But the way that you just really broke it down today, it really, I feel like, gave me personal access to that. Not just like reading, like you said, all the YouTube channels, you can look through them, you can look through books, but it's how it's brought to you that you really get this information. And today, I mean, I got it on a completely new, in a completely new way. So I know I said a lot, and there's still so much to say. And just like Kimet said, we need to do this again and again and again. So grateful and appreciative for everybody's input, because everybody had something to say that turned a light on. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you. That was very profound. How you broke all of that down, as far as the TV and programming and all of that kind of stuff. That was great. And a quick add-on to that. So I know most of you know that I'm an electrical engineer, and in one of my classes, it was actually called Signals. They show you how, and this is just engineering, not any like nefarious plots or anything, but how they encode information on what they call carrier waves. So, obviously the TV is a signal and the radio waves are signals. And when you, for example, go to just say 97.9 on the radio station, that's 97.9 megahertz frequency, right? So they're telling you what frequency and what the wavelength is for that particular channel or radio station. So the megahertz frequency, the 97.9, is just the carrier wave. So that's the wave that carries the information from the signal tower to the car antenna for you to hear the music. And so in that carrier wave, you have a big, like 97.9 megahertz is very fast. That means it's going 97.9 million hertz per second. So that's like very, very fast. So in that, very fast, but yet very powerful, because it is so much information in 1 second, they encode the song on that carrier wave. But who's to say they aren't encoding other information outside of the song on those carrier waves? Because all the carrier wave does is it carries the encoded information. So they can encode whatever they want to on the carrier wave, and beam it right to your car or beam it right to your TV or whatever else. So
Wow.
just another addition to what you said.
Wow. Wow.
Teresa.
Peace. Just
Peace.
want to say thank you for the class today. I joined late, so I have to be watching again. I'm operating off of 2 hours of sleep for the last 2 days. So thank you.
Hey, thank you. Make sure you get some rest. We almost finished. Instructor Nate, got anything?
Yes, I do. And I'd like to start with great class instructor Keith. And can tell that everybody's been picking up a lot from this class and growing just by everything they're saying. And it's been beautiful to hear what everybody's been saying and all the words that have been unfolding. And on that note, I had a lot of light bulbs go off tonight and had some connections go off. Warm, I should say. And I started to realize that blindfold training taps into that third eye. And it literally begins to activate that pineal gland so it can receive light through that gland so you can literally see. I've actually had some instances in my blindfold training where that's happened. I've always kind of wondered about that, like what those strands of light were all about. Never did quite understand that until like just tonight. Always remember those were like some of my best moments in Kumite in combat. Like I was always one step ahead of my opponent, and it was a place of perfect peace for me, and it was very inspiring. And also like the third eye chakra connects your intuition to the spirit realm, and everything comes down through that spirit realm. And that's how instructor always knows, like the chief instructor who knows you're going to hit him before you even think about it. Like he can feel it trickling down on such a level. It's insane to me. And then also I started to realize that throat chakra, etheric, and that connects us, our intuition to the physical world, the plane all around us, and the way it moves. So that way we can sense everything on both the spiritual realm and then also the physical realm. That's something I always used to wonder about, and it's been broken down for me tonight. And I always thought that was insane how it could always, intuit all of it, but I always wondered how it broke down, and now I know. And also, instructors talked about something called creative visualization, and we talked about the third eye, how it is a big part of our imagination, and that's how we can see. But that creative visualization is not something I've gone into yet. But instructor has a story about how he once used it to literally heal himself, and if he didn't do that, like he wouldn't be able to walk to this day. There was a time when he got seriously injured, and he used that creative visualization to move his energy in a way where he could actually heal himself. So this third eye chakra is huge, and it resonates with me quite a bit. And this is how it plays out on the floor. Like a lot of we do internally plays out on the floor, and this is how it's been kind of outlined to me, if you will. And also, like just before we stopped physically training out here in Denver, we were working on being like perfectly still and perfectly quiet within, and that actually goes to that throat chakra with the air and all that. That makes you untouchable because you can receive whatever's coming at you and respond to it in kind. You can marry it in perfect, and it's just incredible how a lot of this, actually plays out on the floor. And also like light, I was kind of reading up into that too, and it goes into the X-ray and gamma ray. And once you get to that level, it actually, the megahertz of it goes into the trillions, which was kind of insane to me, which makes sense now why you would just vibrate out of visible reality once you get to a certain level of ascension, if you will. And then the last bit that I have right here for you is a mineral that goes with this particular chakra, the third eye, and it is lapis lazuli. And one of the biggest traits that it has is it actually gives you a stronger connection and grounding to the spiritual realm and plane. And once you begin to ground yourself there and explore your realm, it can actually